Hey man, it's Rashawn the Dude Dad coming to you with the DeadRong Podcast. It's some unsolicited sports talk. So much stuff happened over the last week, but we're going to go all the way back to Thursday and the Detroit Lions versus the Chicago Bears. What happened at the end of that game? Now, being as it's a divisional game and divisional opponents, you're always going to expect that no matter what their records say, the divisional games are going to be a lot harder. They know these teams. They know each other. They meet up multiple times a year. And it was a great game. The Bears, they started off slow. Caleb Williams, I think they had maybe like 2 first downs in the entire first half. The Detroit Lions are doing the Detroit Lion things. They're rolling. Defense is stepping up. Offense is doing what they do. Jared Goff, Boots, Jahmyr Gibbs, Sonic and Knuckles, they are doing their thing. None of that mattered because at the end of the game, the Bears are driving. They have about 1 minute and 10 seconds. They got timeouts in pocket, and then they get to about the 37-yard line. They have 32 seconds left. They got 1 timeout in pocket, and you know what happened? Nothing. Not a play, not a field goal, not an attempt at a pass, run, nothing. Mind-boggling that a coach in the National Football League at this level could be having the potential Super Bowl front runners on the ropes, driving to get a touchdown and a field goal at minimum, not spike the ball, not get a playoff, not call a timeout, and they end up losing the game. I don't know what happened. And instead of Eberflus like owning up to it and just saying maybe I mismanaged it, I did something wrong, he stood on it. Actually, he doubled down on it, and it cost him his job. And I'm not here calling for anybody's job. I know that people got families to feed and all that like that, but if there was ever a moment or an infraction that could cost you your job, that was the moment. You had the front runners from the NFC against the ropes. Your season hangs in the balance because they've been putting together some games and they lost very close games, but you got these guys against the ropes and you're trying to posture in what is the best division in the NFC and probably in the entire NFL. You got these guys on the ropes, and at minimum you can tie the ball game up and you could go into overtime, and it's a 50-50 chance from there on. But he didn't spike the ball. He didn't call a timeout. He didn't offer a reason, excuse, or anything. He doubled down on it, and he said that I believe that I handled it the right way. Well, they handled you, buddy. They got you up out of there. So that was the first game. The second game, it's a shame that we all had to watch this game. It's the Dallas Cowboys versus the New York Giants. I mean, I watched it. I don't know if everyone else watched it. There was nothing else really much to watch it, unless you were spending like time with your family or anything like that. But I watched it. The Cowboys won by a slim margin, and then after that, you got guys like Micah Parsons and the rest of the boys talking as if they are contenders for anything. I don't even think they're contenders for the playoffs, let alone for a Super Bowl. But they're chanting, they're patting themselves on the back, they're high-fiving. Micah Parsons is giving interviews as if he's won the Lombardi Trophy himself. And you guys stink. Oh, look, my team stinks too, so I can't be calling, or the teapot calling the kettle black. My team, the San Francisco 49ers, they stink. Yeah, you see it back there. Yeah. I mean, right now I'm drinking out of a Eagles coffee jar. Man. But anyway, enough about us. How about the Green Bay Packers and the Miami Dolphins? This was a good game, I guess. But you could tell that the Miami Dolphins are not, I would say, not built for that weather. It's sad that you even have to say that about grown men, but you could tell that they are used to playing in warm weather. It looked like they didn't even want to tackle. They didn't want to hit. The defense looked like they were disinterested. I don't want to say disinterested, but they had a lack of effort because they were afraid of how their bodies would react or how they would feel hitting that cold ground and all that. I mean, in the NFL, if you're trying to make a push, Miami Dolphins, I don't know if you guys, got the memo. If you're trying to make a push deep into the playoffs, then you have to play in December and January and then sometimes February. And what if the Super Bowl is outside? What are you going to do? What if it's outside in New York or Boston, Massachusetts or something like that? There's no excuse, man. You guys are professionals. Be a pro. Be a pro at what you do. You should not give half of an effort. And I'm not saying I'm not one of those outdoorsy type guys, but at the same time, when it's ice cold outside, I want to make sure that I layer up, I bundle up, I get the gloves, I get the pocket warmers, I get everything that I have to do so that I can handle my business. Your job, your stream of income comes from playing football in the National Football League, man. Prep, man. Y'all grown men. At the end of the day, you guys are grown men. And just like you had to play outside, Green Bay Packers had to play outside. So, I mean, once the Dolphins kind of got it rolling, they were looking a little better. But I don't think that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are the type of guys that you want to dink and dunk all the way down the field. These guys are big play guys. And I don't know if Tua doesn't really have the arm for these guys to be able to run those type of routes, or maybe they're just afraid of the line not holding up or Tua taking another hit. But these plays aren't developing, and you got these guys that are legitimate threats and they're only dink and dunking. And when I say dink and dunk, I mean like the small passes, cross routes, and all that. And granted, if Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, those guys get the ball in space, they're gonna look good. Of course, you know what I mean. It's gonna be hard to take them down, but at the same time, the same way that you can dink and dunk with them, you got to take those shots. You got to be able to put the ball up in the air and let them guys go make a play, because those guys have that type of speed. Anyway, in short, the Green Bay Packers, they won. They look like they're coming alive. Jordan Love, man, he's a very good quarterback. I am hoping to see the Eagles versus the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs, the Eagles versus the Detroit Lions in the playoffs, and see the best in the NFC go against each other. I'm not sold on Sam Darnold and the Vikings. I think the Vikings make Sam Darnold better. Sam Darnold does not make the Vikings better. I think if you put Aaron Rodgers in there with the Minnesota Vikings, they would be contenders. JJ McCarthy, he's going to get his chance, and that they're tailor-made for that. And I think they're going to move on for Sam Darnold. I think that was a big indication by the signing of Daniel Jones. And of course, man, the New York Football Giants, they let go of Daniel Jones, which I guess they're just trying to make sure that they don't have to continue to pay him if he was to get hurt. And then he goes on injured reserve. So they were just cutting their losses and, putting the money on the back end and letting him go wherever he wants. And it was a mutual pardon. But it was a money thing from New York standpoint. Unfortunately for them, they're in a massive reset, rehaul, whatever you want to call it. GM and a coach are probably going to be gone. I think Brian Daboll is a good coach. I think he was handed a terrible hand, and he tried to make the best out of what he had, which wasn't much for the last 4 years or so. And then the GM was doing him and the team at large a disservice, because he was just putting money where it didn't belong. He let Saquon go, but he paid Daniel Jones, and their draft picks have been pretty much bust. Everybody's been a bust or not living up to their potential, and that's all I have to say about that. But how about the Kansas City Chiefs or the Kansas City Chiefs or the refs? I don't be knowing what be going on with these dudes, man. And again, it's a divisional game, divisional rivals. The Kansas City Chiefs, they don't look like the juggernaut that they can be. Who knows why? Their defense is I don't know if the league is catching up to them, but the defense is looking human again. And Steve Spags, he does what he does. But that game on Friday, the Raiders started to take it to them with I think his name is Aiden Hutchins. No, I'm sorry. I forget their coaches. I mean, not their coaches. The quarterback's name. Let me see. Aiden O'Connell, I'm sorry. So Aiden O'Connell, man, he started to tear him up a little bit. But just like that Chicago Bears Detroit Lions game, they're going down. Seconds are going off, last minute of the game, and they're marching down the field. They're doing what they got to do, and would look to be a false start, which would be a dead ball infraction. And they called it at first, and they huddled up. meaning the referees, in some way, somehow, it turned into an illegal shift, which means that if they decline it, the down counted and the game was over. But again, if it's a false start and it's a dead ball foul, then you shut down the play from the rip. I don't know what be going on, man, and I don't want to believe like stuff is rigged. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but man, the NFL be making it a little hard to think otherwise. It's like every time that these dudes are in a jam, they get bailed out by the refs, by whoever. I don't know, man. It's crazy. It goes all the way back to the AFC Championship game with the Bengals. Like, it's about to be overtime, 10 seconds left, and the dude from the Bengals, like, breathes on Patrick Mahomes, and it's a freaking personal foul. 15 yards, they're in field goal range. Game over. Eagles in the Super Bowl. A call to bail them out because they missed out. And listen, man, it was a hold in the Eagles game with the Super Bowl and all that stuff, man. But I'm just saying, it's never 50-50. In the Super Bowl last year against the San Francisco 49ers, they were calling us on holds from the beginning of the game. You have Kyle Shanahan on video, mic'd up, saying, "Hey, just make sure that was a hold, but you make sure that you call it both ways." And then when you go back to the game, you can see where there are blatant holds, where there are the biggest plays of the game with the scramble for Patrick Mahomes, and when they started putting things together, there were calls that were missed. For a team that has the most holds called in one season, which was last season, for them not to get called for one hold in an entire Super Bowl, and then you have documentation on the video of it, man, it just seems a little fishy to me. But what do I know? But anyway, yeah, man, they bailed them out with that, John. They didn't even get a field goal off. It's just like the Chicago Bears and Detroit Lions getting to get a field goal off. They didn't get to take a chance or a shot at the touchdown, man. It was crazy, man. And like I said, I'm like, I don't even know what to say about that situation or those circumstances, but it just seems so fishy, and it just seems like they are always bailing these guys out because God forbid they lose. God forbid they look human. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy, but you know what? It is what it is. Sometimes the ball rolls your way, sometimes it doesn't. What other games can I talk about? How about what I would say was the biggest matchup of the weekend, Philadelphia Eagles versus the Baltimore Ravens, man. I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking to myself, there was so much hype behind the game. You got Jalen Hurts, you got Lamar Jackson, you got Derrick Henry, you got Saquon Barkley, and both of these teams are relatively good, and they kind of got the same makeup as a team. Pretty good defense, good athletic quarterback, and monster of a running back. And when used and utilized, the running game is almost unstoppable. And that's all I was thinking is, I believed whoever would use their running back the most and stuck with the run game was going to win. In the beginning of the game, I'm looking at the Philadelphia Eagles come out, and they're just not running the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm so furious. I'm jumping up and down. I'm like, run the ball. You got Saquon Barkley. Run the ball. And then you see Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and they're doing their thing, and they're handing the ball off, and they're kind of sticking with it for the most part, and they're going down the field. But they couldn't capitalize. You know, they got the first field goal, and then they got the touchdown with the missed point after touchdown, which is a whole nother thing that I'm going to get into with these freaking field goal kickers, man. But anyway, they missed the point after the touchdown, and so the Eagles are down 9-0, or I believe it was 9-3. And then it was like Kellen Moore said, okay, I tried to do this your way. I tried to do it my way. Now let me just do with what makes sense, or go with what makes sense, and run the ball. And so they kind of stuck with it. And that defense, there's not a bigger storyline in this year's season than the complete 180 that the Eagles defense has done. Is it the coordinator? Maybe it is. Vic Fangio. I can't even put it into words how ecstatic, how amazing, I would say, how amazing it is for defense to go from putrid one year and looking terrible in every phase, from the line to the linebackers to the safety. Maybe I would say only Reed Blankenship seemed as though he plays, he plays hard. The white boy plays hard, so I'm gonna give it to him. Reed Blankenship plays all the time, no matter what. So, last year he was still doing what he did, but for the rest of the defense, man, after that collapse, I'm looking at guys like Darius Slay, big play on him Slay, and everybody else outside of Reed Blankenship. They just weren't playing. They weren't wrapping up. They were missing tackles. They looked like they didn't want to play. And I don't know if it was Nick Sirianni or the defensive coordinator for last year, or maybe they were just done with the season altogether. But man, from last year to this year, strides. They look like they're playing with all Pro Bowlers across the line, the linebackers, the young guys that stepped up. Slay was out, so they had Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell. He was playing out of his mind as usual, even though he gave us a little scare when it looked like his ankle or his calf got rolled up. But when you young like that, he bounced up, he got out, he was out for a few plays, it came back in. And what about Cooper DeJean when Derrick Henry caught the pass out of the backfield for the screen, and man, he did like a WWE almost powerbomb body slam on him, man. How could he even pick him up, man? Derrick Henry is scary. Most guys don't even want to tackle him, man. He came straight at him, picked him up, and body slammed him on the ground. And I think that set the tone for the rest of the game. And then AJ Brown doing AJ Brown things, and he really did put the team on his back. When nothing else was going right, he put the team on his back, and then Saquon finished them dudes off. Credit to the defense for keeping them around, because the Eagles are unfortunately a slow starting team, which it'll work now, but if you go against a team like Detroit Lions where they get rolling real quick in the game, it can get out of hand real fast. So they have the ability, and they are equipped to go toe-to-toe with anyone from the defense to the offensive side. So they just got to start rolling faster. That way they can play from ahead. They can lean on a run more. You got what I believe is arguably the best running back in the league right now, and he shows it day in and day out, from preparation all the way down. So you stick with that, man. If you can start off faster, play with the lead, and be able to hand the ball off to Saquon on a regular, boom, man, nobody's going to be able to go toe-to-toe with you. You're going to keep the ball out of everybody else's hands, because you're going to bleed the clock, and then you're going to put up them points, and those long drives capitalize with touchdowns instead of field goals. Nobody's going to be able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles, and I believe that. Their kryptonite was the San Francisco 49ers, and the San Francisco 49ers are going to be sitting right next to me come playoff time. Even though we're only 1 game or 2 games out of contention, I don't think we're worthy of playing in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, if we were to get hot, then I understand it, but we're not a hot team. We're not a hot team. The San Francisco 49ers, they are plagued with injuries, and they have so much stuff going on with some of their players, losses in their families. And that's all I gotta say, because it's a touchy feeling. I don't want to be talking about people's families or nothing like that, but yeah, there's been a lot of losses around the families of the players in the 49ers, and prayers go out to them and their families, and hope everybody is able to get over this and put their trust in their Lord and fight through it, man. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that. But the Buffalo Bills, they beat us down. Rightfully so. Josh Allen is playing out of his mind. He didn't even look like he was playing in the snow. He looked like he was playing somewhere in Miami, and it was 80 degrees, and he was just freaking throwing the ball everywhere. It's like he was playing with a different football in a different stadium than everyone else, man. He was so accurate. He was running the ball, taking care of the ball. He threw a touchdown. Caught a touchdown that he threw, ran in for touch. Man, 49ers rest in peace to our season. Buffalo Bills just showed us exactly what we are right here, right now. And we are not contenders. We're pretenders this year. I hope that they do something. I don't know what it is, but I think it's going to have to start with a defensive coordinator, because Nick Sorensen, I don't know how he still hasn't been fired here today. 2 games back to back where people are hanging damn near 40 points on you. The defense doesn't look like they're playing. It looks like how the Eagles were playing at the end of last year when they collapsed, except this is how the 49ers have been playing the entire year. It's crazy. And that's all I have to say about that. I'm still a 49ers fan. For all y'all people, when I was wearing my Eagle stuff and y'all were telling me that I couldn't be on y'all bandwagon, that's okay. I'm going to stick with my 49ers. We suck big time. That's my squad. It's all right. I don't want to be one of y'all Eagles fan bandwagoners anyway. Forget y'all. How about the Pittsburgh Steelers? It's like the game between them and the Cincinnati Bengals. It's like the defense was optional. And even though the Steelers looked good, I mean, the Bengals have the worst defense in the league. And the steel curtain didn't look like it came to Cincinnati, because they hung 38 points on them. I mean, but shout out to Russell Wilson. Shout out to Mike Tomlin. It's his 20th season with a winning season, man. It's unbelievable, man. That guy does not get enough credit for being able to make lemonade out of cranberries. When he's handed cranberries, he makes lemonade. I don't know how he does it, but the guy, he's a mad scientist when it comes to football, man. Credit to Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, because they believed in him and they kept rallying the troops, and the defense keeps rallying behind him, and they're always in contention, man. Shout out to them. And yeah, Vikings beat the Cardinals, and they kind of helped the 49ers, but I don't even care, because the 49ers, I just hope they get a high draft pick. I believe the Vikings are pretenders. There's nothing you can do to say. They would have to go all the way to the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl, and I still wouldn't believe in them up until they're hoisting the trophy. I believe in their defense, but I don't believe in them in totality. I think Sam Darnold's a pretender, and he's going to get exposed when he has to play back-to-back games against top-tier people, top-tier teams, top-tier defenses. And in the playoffs, we all know that you have time to study these guys and prep and prepare for whatever team you have to go up against. And again, I believe the Vikings are pretenders. Commanders are still in the hunt. It's exciting to see that the Commanders and the Eagles are both in contention right now. But this is the Eagles. NFC East is the Eagles, and that's that, man. And how about anybody watch that Monday Night Football game, man? Jameis Winston, man. Imagine if the Cleveland Browns actually put the ball in his hands in the beginning of the season instead of Deshaun Watson. Like, think about that. When Deshaun was there, man, and I don't know what's going on with Deshaun Watson. Before he left Texas, or the Houston Texans, man, he was balling out. He was like MVP status every year. And, maybe it's a mental thing. Maybe, I don't know. But Jameis Winston be having the Cleveland Browns balling. They be marching up and down the field. He has that big playability, and he's a gunslinger. And with gunslinging comes the ability to throw picks. And but that's what he does. You know what I mean? I don't mean throw picks. He goes for the big plays, and he got them looking good, man. It's unfortunate that they turned to him later on in the season, and maybe they would have had a better chance, because their defense is still legit. Their offense looks way better. They're putting up like 400 points on everyone, and Bo Nix looks good for the Denver Broncos, man. That young guy, he started off a little bad. I think they were 0-2, and now I think they're 8-5 now after the win last night, which the game got sealed by a pick six that Jameis Winston threw. But again, like I said, man, you gotta go. The gunslingers they only know how to do one thing: throw the ball. You know what I mean? So that's that, man. Denver Broncos look good. Vance Joseph, I can't imagine how hard it is for him to be the defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos when he was the head coach and they fired him. And so he comes back to the same organization, not as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator. And shout out to him, man. He got the Denver Broncos looking good. The defense looking good, should I say. And with Sean Payton, he doesn't run much motion or anything like that, man. But he has this offense looking good for the Denver Broncos. And shout out to them. I really want to see. That was another game that the Kansas City Chiefs won that was supposed to be a loss. They blocked the punt on that joint, man. So watch out for the Denver Broncos. They're getting hot, and I think they're going to be hot at the right time. And I always believe in the football season, whoever gets hot later in the year, right before the playoffs, they are the ones that tend to go straight to the Super Bowl. So yeah, I think the Denver Broncos are a team to watch. They're probably going to come in as a wild card because of those losses that they took at the beginning of the year. But I think you get them. They're used to playing out in the cold. You get them against the Kansas City Chiefs. I think they put the Chiefs away in Arrowhead. Just what I believe. And what about tonight? We're going to talk about, we're not going to talk about, we're going to see how this NBA Cup continues to draw out. I really don't understand it. I'm going to get some more information, and then I'm going to just have a little video about the NBA Cup to see if I can shed some light and bring some information to y'all to really understand the ins and outs of the NBA Cup. I know it starts with like group play, and then depending on a points differential and how many losses you get, you could get eliminated, but you could still make it through with just your points differential even if you lost. It's something that they took from the FIBA Euro Cup in Europe. But like I said, I'm gonna try to get a little bit more information and deliver it to y'all. And so yeah, the Sixers finally got a win. They beat the Detroit Pistons. I mean, whatever. But I'm gonna rep y'all. I want to rep my teams even when they're struggling. I tried to jump ship and go with the Eagles, but y'all ain't want me. So you know what? Stick with the 49ers. Stick with my 76ers, and that's just what it's gonna be. That's it. So anyway, man, this is episode 6 with the dude that Rashawn, the DeadRong Podcast, man. I appreciate everybody. Like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate the love, man.